What's going on? VitalSyntax here, and this is Ravaged, a new first-person multiplayer only shooter that's coming out later on this year. It's currently in closed beta. It's being developed by a company called 2 Dawn, and it's a small studio of, I believe, around 10 developers. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can go check out the website. And if you guys are interested in playing in the closed beta, all you need to do is pre-order the game, and you'll get access to a beta key so you can play in all the different community events that they have. Basically, a community event is where they try and get everybody on at the same time, because there's not a whole lot of people that have the beta. You can just go in and join a server whenever you want, but there's not always going to be a server with enough people to play the game properly. So they kind of have these community dates set up, and actually there's one tonight with Battlefield. They're going to be doing a live stream and trying to promote the game. I believe Rival X Factor and some of the other guys from Rival are all going to be helping out as well. So this game actually definitely has a lot of backers. And speaking of backers, this game actually started out as a Kickstarter project. And they originally asked for, I believe, somewhere around $10,000 in funding, and they got like 4 or 5 times more than they originally asked for, which should be a good indicator to you guys that a lot of people are excited for this game. A lot of people want to see it in its full release, and I'm one of those people as well. I obviously purchased the game, or pre-purchased it so I could play in the beta myself, because I had seen some gameplay and some videos on it. So hopefully you guys can make a decision about whether you guys want to purchase this game when it comes out, or maybe pre-purchase it and play the beta. And I'll try and give you guys kind of my first impressions, what I liked about the game, what I didn't like about it in this video. Now, we got to play with the developers actually last night. About 4 or 5 of them were on in the server we were playing with, and we joined their TeamSpeak and got to talk to them. So they were really cool guys. They actually work on this game during the night. They all have full-time jobs, which I thought was kind of cool. That's actually where the company's name came about, 2 Dawn, because they're working on this game till dawn. They're definitely a dedicated group of people. From what I talked about to them, they actually had a lot of experience as well too. Some of them had worked on the Battlefield 2 mod called Desert Combat. Now, I personally didn't play that mod, but I know a lot of people that have played it, and I've seen a lot of videos and gameplay on it, and it's one of the most highly regarded mods for any multiplayer first-person shooter. So they definitely have a lot of experience under their belt, and it kind of comes through in the game as well. It's very well polished. The graphics are just insane. It reminds me a lot of Rage. If you guys ever played that game, it was one of the it's actually pretty recent. I think it was early this year or late last year. That was developed by ID Software. They were testing out their new ID5 engine. Now, this is running on the Unreal Engine, which looks absolutely phenomenal, and it runs great. I get 60 plus frames per second while recording. I don't think they've enabled SLI quite yet, so that number should like double or close to double once they enable that, which they are planning to do in the next update or pretty soon after. So this game's all about, well, first of all, it's a multiplayer only game, like I said. It's also a PC only game. It's not going to be on the consoles or anything like that. It's going to be sold through Steam as well. But it's a multiplayer only game that has kind of an emphasis on vehicle combat and first-person shooter combat, right? Because I mean, that's what most first-person shooters are. But it's nice to see that they have that whole other layer of gameplay with the vehicles they've added. I'm also a fan of the larger maps they have. It's kind of similar size to something like Battlefield, but there's a lot more in between space. There's a lot of like open area between all the different checkpoints that are usually around the outside or the edge of the map. And the reason they do that is because this game is very heavy on vehicles, even more than Battlefield, I would say. Now, they don't have tanks yet implemented. I don't know if they're going to add something like that. I talked to the developers about adding a bulldozer type of thing. That's actually the Killdozer. If you guys ever seen that video, it's pretty funny, although I probably shouldn't be laughing at it. But anyway, they do plan to add more vehicles, like maybe tanks and bulldozers, or maybe even jets they had talked about, and more of what they already have, which is they already have cars, armored cars, trucks, ATVs, motorcycles, jeeps, helicopters, little personal helicopters that are really hard to control but are like super fast and mobile. And they also have like a Little Bird, which is another type of helicopter. So there's a lot of different vehicles in the game, and they're all over the place. There's multiple kind of flag points, at least in this game mode we're playing, which is kind of like capture the flag mixed with domination, in the sense that the main objective is to capture the enemy's resource, which is a gas can. So essentially it's a flag. But there's also flag points around the map that act as spawn points. So if your team controls more flag points, then you obviously have more spawn points. And if you have a spawn point that's near your objective, then you can easier spawn in and protect your resource, and you can also easier spawn in on the or near the enemy's resource and capture it. So you can see here I just returned our resource by touching it and went ahead and captured their resource. And I think you play up to like 8 captures or something like that. You can see at the top of the screen. There's also a time limit and things like that. Other than that, there's a couple other game modes. There's one that's similar to Rush in a sense, but instead of arming MCOMs and destroying and blowing them up with explosives, instead what you're doing is you're capturing a flag. And if you capture a flag, the enemy team can still take that flag back. And the attackers only win once they capture all of the flags in order. So I think that's a cool dynamic. It's a lot like Rush, like I said, but also a little bit different, a little twist on it, and I think they did a pretty good job with that one. And then the other game mode we played was very similar to Domination or Conquest from Battlefield, where there's flag points around the map. The longer and the more flag points that you hold, the more points you get, or the more points that the enemy team loses. I don't know exactly how it works. It's different in Battlefield. And so basically the main objective is to hold certain points around the map. On top of the different game modes they have, I played on probably 5, maybe 6 or 7, I'm not exactly sure on the number of maps, and they're all very different. So you can see this one's a very desert looking, lots of rocks and stone and sandstone, and just really, really good looking. It reminds me once again a lot of the Rage single player game. There's also snowy maps that have lots of ice and big icebergs and snow everywhere, and those maps are really cool. And they also have a lot of maps that have iconic different key locations. So this one I don't think does, but there's some maps that have like the Eiffel Tower or the Statue of Liberty or things like that. So I thought that was kind of cool, and also kind of just lets you know key locations, so you can kind of figure out the map a little bit easier by having these big statues here and there. On top of all the different maps they have a bunch of different classes. So I believe there's 5 classes. There's the assault class, or sorry, there's a scout class, which has something like a submachine gun that has a higher fire rate, really good at hip fire, and he's kind of the fast character that's supposed to get in and out of situations really fast and take out the enemy quickly. Then there's also the assault class, which has something like an assault rifle, so you'll see things like the SCAR and the AK-47, where the scout you'll see things like the MP5 and the Uzi. They do plan to add more guns, but right now there's only about 1, sometimes 2 guns per class, and they're usually different depending on which side you're playing on. There's the scavenger side, and I don't remember the other side, but there's basically 2 different teams, obviously, and they have specific names. They're not just red and blue team. And then you've also got a sniper class I'm playing as right now. You've got a couple of different options for that. You have this type of M40 looking sniper rifle. It's a 2-hit kill in the body or a 1-hit kill in the head. There might be a close-up multiplier. You might be able to get a 1-hit kill up close. I'm not really sure on that. But it's a pretty awesome looking sniper rifle. The animations are a little bit kinky, and you'll notice that a lot of the guns are kind of like that, although they're fixing them as they go. Some of the guns didn't even have aim down sight last time I played, but they've updated it recently and added a lot of different features like that. So that's always things that they're working on to add and kind of polish the game as they go. Then there's another class that's kind of like the engineer. It's actually a guy I'm battling right here. He has 2 different types of rocket launchers. He's got like a law rocket launcher that's good for taking out land vehicles, and also good for taking out, and well, I totally did a barrel roll right there. I don't know what caused that, but and then, oh wow, he's still going crazy. Also good for taking out other enemies, players. And then the second type of rocket launcher you have is a Stinger, and the way the Stinger works in this game is actually pretty cool. It doesn't lock on, and I couldn't really figure it out at first because the air vehicles are really powerful, right? If you can't shoot them out, if you can't kill them, then they're almost impossible to get rid of. Basically, the only way they're going to go down is by crashing, and that's usually not going to happen unless it's an experienced pilot. But I did figure out the Stingers work in a different way. They don't actually lock on. Instead, they're proximity. So you just shoot it, it goes in a perfectly straight line, and actually travels a lot faster than the law rocket. And you just try and lead a little bit, shoot in front of the helicopter, and it'll actually explode if it gets close enough. So it's a really cool mechanic that works pretty well, and it's kind of like the anti-air solution for vehicles. And then there's also the last class is kind of like a brute class or a juggernaut class or a heavy class, whatever you want to call it. And he has, I'm guessing he probably has a little bit more health, although I'm not exactly sure. You can see the health meter in the bottom left, although it doesn't give you a number or anything, so it's kind of hard to compare. He has either a light machine gun, which is like a Browning 50 caliber, because it's more of a heavy machine gun, And then he has, which is super, super powerful. I think it kills in 2 hits, but it has a ton of recoil, so it felt pretty balanced. And then I think the other one has a shotgun. He's less of a brute. He's a little bit smaller, but he has a shotgun that's pretty powerful as well. It's definitely a one-hit kill up close and a 2-hit kill at a little bit longer range. So I think they did a pretty good job with balancing. There are a few things that need to be tweaked a little bit, like the assault rifles have basically no recoil. The submachine guns basically have no recoil, and I don't think they have a damage drop-off, so you can basically snipe people with it if you're, you know, bursting a little bit. But for the most part, for a beta, this is really, really well done. The graphics are obviously superb, and the graphics are the first thing you see whether you're playing the game or watching a trailer or whatever, and I think they did a phenomenal job with the graphics. There are a few little glitches here and there, but nothing that's game-breaking. You're not going to have the game crash. At least in my experience, the game never crashed on me. I never got disconnected from servers, anything like that. There weren't any missing textures or you know, weird things like that. There are some spots on the map that you might be able to fall through that they'll obviously have to just add some collision factors here and there. But overall, graphics are superb, and the gameplay is also really fun. It's pretty well balanced. There might be, like I said, a couple more tweaks they need to do. There's lots of variety as far as the game modes and the different vehicles go, and it's just fun. It's competitive. It's also just really, really fun. It feels like a mix between the Battlefield and kind of like Team Fortress almost, and then the graphics of Rage, because it's kind of that playful fun factor that Team Fortress has. But it's the size and the game types and almost the weapon mechanics that Battlefield has, and then the graphics and look and kind of feel of Rage, which once again was just a really awesome game. All of those games are really awesome, and I think this does a good job of bringing them all together. So overall, I think it's an awesome game. It's only going to be $25, which is a good price point since they're not including a single player or co-op from my understanding. It's good that they're not charging a full $60 release for a game that doesn't really have what you'd expect from a $60 game. And I don't know how I just died. But anyway, I think it's an awesome game. If you guys are interested from what I've kind of told you about it so far, then feel free to go to the link in the description and purchase it for yourself, and you guys can play in the beta with me if I'm on at the same time. Or you guys can try and win one of the beta keys that's going on with the live stream that's going on later today at Battlefield O, or any other live streams or giveaways that I might be doing in the future. Or if you guys want to sit back and maybe watch some more reviews, I'll try and do that kind of a review of the beta more in depth and talk about exactly what I liked and what I didn't like, because there are some issues. But anyway, thanks for checking out the video. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give me a like or a favorite. Once again, check out 2don.com, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.